let's move on to our segment today, which is a little bit of an update of what we take with us to the parks. Considering, as our kids have gotten older, our son just turned 4, our daughter turned 7. So some of those things have, it's shifted from, even a few years ago when they were much smaller. And as, when the kids are smaller, the more stuff you bring. Versus as they get older, you don't bring as much typically. So, but yeah, we're going to go over some of that stuff. And there may be things that pop up that we don't have on our list here that we'll just think of. But yeah, here's the things that we typically bring with us into the parks and on our trips. But the main one, I think, being, as no surprise to anybody, would be a stroller.
Good old stroller. All right. So the stroller that we use is a Zoe double stroller, double twin, I think is what it is. It's basically a double umbrella stroller. So it's very lightweight, but it does have a good canopy. It has a good recliner on both sides. It's got a lot of basket space underneath, and that's where we put a majority of the stuff that we use for the stroller. And I think we've taken it out recently. I don't know if we'll use it again just because they're older and they can just walk, but we used to use a stroller cover during the rain.
Yeah, it's an optional thing. I mean, a lot of people, if it's raining anyways, you may just take cover. But if it is really pouring and they're going to be in there, with that stroller particular, they would just that stroller would just get wet. Yeah. And they would soak through it. So
yeah. And if you don't let it dry out all the way, it can mold. It can get smelly. Relating to the rain, umbrellas. Jared prefers an umbrella over
I don't like ponchos.
Yeah.
I would rather have an umbrella or just get wet. Now that I use, which I'll talk about the shoes, but the shoes I wear now, I don't really care. My biggest issue with getting wet was really the wet socks. So a wet shirt and stuff, I mean, you're already sweating in Florida.
Especially now.
Yeah.
You're already wet.
It's just whatever. I would sometimes I'd rather not even mess with an umbrella.
But. Right. We also do sometimes pack ponchos. If it depends on if our kids are with us, we might pack a poncho because she, our daughter likes to walk more now. So if she's out and not in the stroller and she's, doesn't want to use an umbrella, we'll just use a poncho. So
yeah.
Cold bottled water. Lots of bottled water.
Yes. We're always making sure that our kids have always, both of them like their water with ice in it. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine the struggle that could be in your, in Florida with that. But yeah, so I'll usually, ideally you could have a freezer if you don't have one because in
your room.
Yeah. The good idea would be to throw cold water or bottled water in a freezer. It's ice, put it in the stroller. And then as it gets hot, you'll just have cold water and it melts that way.
And in Florida in August, that's 20 minutes later.
That'll be 20 minutes later.
Just kidding. But we actually will drink the bottled water when it's not super cold. We don't have to have it really cold.
Me personally, I don't really, warm water doesn't bother me, but that's just me. But for our kids, we always have a bunch of water in there throughout the day because, there's just something to have. And then when it comes to ice, quick serve, we'll just find a place that has ice. I mean, it's not really hard to find. It's just sometimes, it's more in Epcot, it's hard to find. Magic Kingdom, it's really not an issue.
I disagree. Connections Cafe. It's really easy to get ice there.
Well, depending on where you're at in Epcot, I should
Regal
say.
Eagle, really easy to get ice there.
Yeah, some spots in World Showcase can be a little, I guess, stingy, supposedly. I don't know.
Well, Joffrey's, they don't give you ice, right?
It depends. Sometimes they will.
Sometimes they do.
It just depends on who's there. I've been hit or miss with that, but yeah. So when it comes to ice, because you can't bring the thing, if you do bring in, which we don't bring in a cooler, but if you do bring in a cooler, you can't have loose ice, which is a strange rule.
Is it because people will dump it out? That's the only thing I can think of. I know this is an older rule, but I
don't really know the reason as to why. I just know you can't.
They can't see the bottom of the cooler with the ice like that.
Maybe it could be that. I could see. Yeah. That could be a security thing. But yeah, you can't have loose ice. So So with that, you got to find ice in the parks if you want ice water.
Same thing with water. Sometimes we'll bring in some sodas, which we prefer Coke Zeros if we bring them in, instead of buying the Diet Coke, $5 Diet Coke in the parks. So it just saves a little money.
One thing we don't bring a cooler in, but we got those little It's almost like a lunch, like a reclosable little lunch sack. I guess it's insulated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a portable cooler, like really small though. But we've put a few drinks in there and nothing else in there with it.
Yeah.
And even on a hot day, it'll keep the drinks, like the water and the sodas, colder for much longer than I thought it would have.
Yeah, we'll do that again.
So you can do stuff like that. You don't have to have ice. You could put a cold pack in there with it, I suppose. But if you put them in there and like you put them in the stroller, they'll stay cold even on a really hot day. I think we were in the parks for a couple of hours, and I was like, oh yeah, I have a Coke Zero in there, and it was still cold. So
yeah,
you could always do that.
And you mentioned the kids' water bottles. I get them from Simple Modern, which has a stainless steel base, and it keeps them very cold. Keeps the ice in there for a long time. So we really like those, and those have held up pretty well.
And they're durable. They're metal.
Very
so
durable.
If, as kids drop things and all that stuff like that. So
oh yeah. Cooling towels. Jared likes to use cooling towels a little bit.
Sometimes, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do work. One of the things that work for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, I don't know, it's either they lose their effect or you kind of just get used to it. But one thing I will say that is good about those, if it's really, really hot outside, one of the best ways to cool yourself down in terms of like your body temperature and if it's getting really warm is to put something cold on the back of your neck. Mm-hmm. So a cooling towel actually also feels good, but it's also a good thing if, you feel yourself getting a little, little warmer, a little heated, especially as hot as it's been lately. That's not a bad thing to have.
Yep. A regular small towel or even a medium-sized towel. So if you do get into a rainstorm and it sticks underneath the stroller so it doesn't get wet, you can use it to dry off or just dry off the sweat.
Yeah, it's not, if you're going to put back on like sunscreen, having a towel, like it's not a bad thing to have because again, kids, I mean, we have wipes usually, but kids spill things. Like it's never a bad thing just to have a towel on hand. Right. I've found,
right.
So.
We also throw the sunscreen in the bottom too.
Yes. Yeah. That's where I would say the sunscreen, you put that on before. Sometimes we forget and then you're trying to put sunscreen on when you're already sweaty. Not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Doesn't tend to stick very well.
And sometimes if we're in there during the winter, if we're in the parks and it's a little chilly, we'll just stick one of the kids' little blankets underneath, and then if they get cold, they can cover up.
Yeah, well, because in the winter, I mean, it's still usually about 60, 70 during the day, sometimes even 80 during the day. But once that sun goes down, it can get real chilly really quick. Yep. So it's one of those things you may not need. It's the same thing with jackets. And that's one thing I will say, a stroller is a little bit, it has its pros and cons. But the nice thing about it is you can put a lot of your stuff in there and don't think about it.
Yep.
And one thing I will say, I really do like this stroller we have. I think it's a really good stroller. It's one that I would recommend to people. And, I've seen, I guess one downside to it is like when you go in the Skyliner, you do have to fold it up because it's a double wide.
Yeah, it's not a front and back. It's side to side. Yeah.
And like my brother and other people, they have those ones. And there's some fancy ones that are like, they're in one row and they stack up. Mm-hmm. Those you don't have to fold up. But those are a lot more, I mean, I know you figure them out, but they're a little bit more complicated to work. Like this one's very simple. We've used that stroller a ton. I mean,
let's see, we bought it 4 years ago.
Whatever the mileage you're supposed to get on those things, I'm sure we have far surpassed that.
Oh my gosh, it's faded. It's like stained in some places. I mean, it's kids.
The wheel kept
falling off. The wheel fell off.
I will say, I talked about putting the foam in there for the fix. That wheel is good. It hasn't any issues. Like if because it doesn't have, it's got like a rubber, it's not inflatable, but it's got a rubber sort of tire on the outside, but it's stretched and then it kept coming off. But yeah, I mean, that's the only issue we've had with it is that wheel coming off, which that's more or less just the rubber.
Yeah.
But yeah. So again, if you're looking for a stroller that is light and durable and, folding it up, getting on and off stuff and even like storing it, it's a really good option.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it. We've enjoyed ours, but, anything else in the stroller you think of?
I don't think so. I mean, what we're talking about in a
stroller
minute.
Fans?
Well, that comes up in a minute.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll cover that.
Okay. One thing I'd say, well, I'm trying to think. No, we'll move on. Nothing I can think of on the stroller side.
Okay.
But, now I guess we could talk about, well, you take in your Loungefly.
My Loungefly. Yes. I did have a giant diaper bag for years. And it was okay. It was fine. It was just really heavy. And I was like, I don't want to carry a heavy bag anymore. So I just moved everything over to the Loungefly and moved some other stuff over to a different bag that I keep under the stroller. So for my Loungefly, I have obviously my wallet, have my phone, my sunglasses, I carry a sunscreen stick. It's just one of those roll-on sticks that we use at the pool, you know. And it's mostly for faces and shoulders and stuff. It's like really easy to put on, and I just throw that in the bag. A magic bands. We always keep a backup charger and cord for our phones because they will die if we're there for longer than a couple hours. And then I usually keep like the backup battery to our vlogging camera, and Jared usually keeps the camera with him. But sometimes I'll keep it. It just depends. And then my pharmacy, which is Excedrin, Bonine, Benadryl, Band-Aids, Neosporin, even like moleskin sometimes, depend. Yeah. So my pharmacy is in there too.
Well, and I would say Band-Aids is good with, you never know, especially if you're going to the parks, you don't walk a lot. You never know, like whenever a blister is going to pop up or.
Oh yeah.
The thing that gets me even still sometimes, not my feet as much as the back, like my heel, my shoes, sometimes it'll rub. And that's all this, you'll be fine. All of a sudden you'll take one step and you're like, oh, that hurts. And then you're in the middle of like World Showcase and you've got a lot more walking to do. And that can be really painful. So having Band-Aid in that situation is good. So, I mean, you can, even if you're in the parks, you can get a Band-Aid, but you usually got to go to the front of the park.
Yeah.
That's usually where the first aid center is. So
yeah.
It's never a bad idea to have some Band-Aids on you.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess for me, or you bought your extra bag?
Yeah. So I actually have an extra little bag that I put some of the stuff that I used to have in the diaper bag in. So like, I'll bring a change of clothes for both the kids just in case. Like the other day we were at Universal and our son decided that he wanted to get completely soaked in that splash pad. And he was wearing a swimsuit at the time, but I did have an extra set of clothes for him because he doesn't like to be wet like for very long. So I did end up changing him. So I bring that and then baby wipes and then just in case, you know, because he's still, you know, our little boy still in pull-ups a little bit. So we have some in there as well. So. And
baby wipes are never a bad thing to have in general, just for your hands get sticky or something like that. So yeah, it's always a nice, even if the kids are older, I'd still say bring baby wipes because you just never really know.
Oh my gosh. Or like hand sanitizer. I have that in my launch flight
and that's what I do still utilize a fanny pack.
Jared's fanny pack.
Or an adventure satchel, as I sometimes will call it. And people can make fun of it, I suppose, but no,
I don't. I love it.
I love having it, and I don't, you know, if they have a lot that are bigger and smaller. They can be more stylish. So technically, I guess you could also say like a crossbody bag is one that people utilize. It's basically the same thing.
I got one. Did I show you the one I got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it because for me, and I think I've talked about this on the show before, but it was always a worry of a wallet falling out. Keys are the thing that actually paranoid the most. Your phone can be easily replaced, even your wallet, but man, if you lose your keys, so I was always like, every time you sit down and ride or get it from a restaurant, and we've had a few close calls where we've left something or something has fallen out. And with the fanny pack, you know, I have a place I put my wallet. My phone, sometimes I'll put, like when I go on a ride, I'll put it in there and I don't have to worry about it. Vlogging camera, I'll put in there. And the keys have their own little spot. They go in the very back. I put them in there, and I don't have to worry. So it's one less thing I have to worry about when I'm in the parks, and I'm not constantly checking my pants or anything for it. So for me, it just makes it way easier. Plus, you know, if I put receipts in there and
you have a lot of compartments in your fanny pack.
And I don't like the ones that are just one big bag basically. It's like one zipper.
No, you don't have that.
No, mine, I've got multiple like compartments. Mine is from, it's called a company called
5 maybe.
It's called Flag Nor Fail. They're a fitness, technically like a fitness clothing brand. I don't think they make that fanny pack anymore. I got it years ago, which I think I'm about needing a new one because mine's starting to sort of rip at the seams. But
okay,
I like it. And again, I'll keep the hand sanitizer in there. And I've always kept hand sanitizer even before COVID because you're in a park full of people that are touching stuff.
That's right.
It's like, it's gross.
That's right.
But yeah. So for me, I love having that.
Good.
Yeah. But all right, let's talk about, we do have an extra bag.
Well, we already talked about that.
Sorry, snack bag. Yeah. It's an extra bag, but we have a snack bag.
Oh my gosh. We have an entire snack bag. And sometimes I'll take like stuff out of the snack bag and just throw it in my lounge flyer, throw it under the stroller. But sometimes, depending on the day, I'll just grab it and just tie it around the stroller. It's like one of those like not Walmart, grocery, like reusable sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we keep stuff like Cheez-Its and Goldfish, veggie straws, nothing that could melt. So like no chocolate chip cookies, no yogurt covered anything, anything that's easy to clean up. It's just like rule of thumb for me.
Usually bagged stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing gooey or anything. But yeah, we do have that snack bag.
That's also where we'll typically keep the stroller fans.
And yeah, we have another bag sometimes, another one that we tie on the stroller.
You're wondering, this is a lot of stuff. It is.
Yeah.
But bags.
That's true.
I mean, you could throw all this in the bottom of the stroller, but it just becomes impossible to find. These bags are really light.
Yeah.
And you can just tie them on the stroller. But yeah, I mean, so we'll take the stroller fans, are especially hot with the kids, like stroller fans. Although I would say I would test out stroller fans because it seemed like they used to be much better than the new ones are.
Well, they have to probably spend more money for the new ones. Like
right, but some of them they feel like somebody's just lightly
I know.
like barely blowing on
I
you.
know.
It's not, they don't really do anything.
Well, I use a neck fan, and I've had it for almost like 2 years now, I think, and I really like it. Jared's not a fan. He's not a fan of the fan.
I don't feel them. I don't know. They look weird and they don't give me enough comfort to the annoyance that they are. Like they don't have enough airflow to me.
Okay.
That's just me though.
We have a couple of handheld fans that we'll just kind of distribute among themselves, and a couple of them spritz water, which is nice.
Those are nice, yeah. Although I guess you could, if you combine that neck fan with a one of those cooling towels, that could potentially help it a little bit.
Yeah.
I've never done that, but
maybe. But yeah, we don't really use the stroller fans anymore since the kids are just capable of just holding it and not dropping their own.
Well, they're always
and
wanting
stuff.
out of the stroller a lot of
yeah,
times too.
it's just like, okay. And then sometimes I'll throw mouse ears in there just to keep them. I don't like putting my mouse ears on my lounge fly. I know that's like a thing. You can get one of those little straps to put on and it keeps them there. It annoys me when that's on the front. I can't, it's in the way. It's in the way and I need it to move. So
okay.
I don't subscribe to that anymore. I just throw it in a bag. So anyway, yeah, but gosh, is that it?
I mean,
that's a lot of stuff.
The only other thing I'll do is, for me personally, is like either I'll have a protein shake or grab some of those Fairlife protein things and throw them in the bottom there. That's just for me though. But other than that, I think that's basically all the stuff.
And like we have all these like yellow packets of Splenda all over little holder thing.
And here's my reasoning. So I typically will, get my own coffee for the room, but the hotels at Disney do not have Splenda. It's a very strange thing, but they do in the parks, and like Joffrey's has them. So I'm always going through, and I'll grab extra Splendas and put it in the stroller just to have them in there. So inevitably, there's just lots of yellow packets strewn about the stroller. And every once in a while, we find like a cookie that's in there, something the kids have left, or a toy,
It's fine.
Whatever it is.
It's great.
When our kids had binkies, you just find a binky in a thing. And you're like, oh, okay. But
it's true.
Yeah. So you're thinking that's a lot of stuff. And it is, but it's less than it used to be.
Yeah.
But we also do take, like, we have, cameras and stuff we're bringing with us and, things like that.
But I think we should talk about when we don't have the kids with us. What do we bring?
It's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different.
Well, I mean, I still have my fanny pack.
I mean, everything that was in your fanny pack is pretty much in your fanny pack.
Yeah, the fanny pack stays the same, basically, yeah.
Me, I still have my lounge fly, and I have everything in it that I just said. But I can't fit the neck fan in there. I can't fit it in there. So I'll just take one of the personal fans. I'll put one of the umbrellas in there, and I'll put my bottled water in there. Yes, it will all fit in there, which is crazy. But it's like real packed in. And then I'll take some stuff out that can fit in my pockets because I do not go to Disney without pockets. I need pockets. So I'll put those in my pockets. And then everything else we don't bring. No snack bag, no extra bag for like clothes and stuff, no stroller.
If I do bring something like a protein shake or like a drink, I'll usually eat it or drink it within, like I'll carry it with me and I'll eat it or drink it within shortly after going into the park. I don't like want to carry it around with me the whole time. No, I have it in the past. We used to sell a little, I guess you would just call it like I don't know what you would call it, like a light backpack, basically.
Yeah.
I used to carry, sometimes I'll carry something like that with me in the parks, but typically I don't like to have a backpack or anything on me. But if we don't have the stroller, sometimes I will bring that just because I can have some water in there and some things like that, because you do get thirsty, and I don't want to pay $6 for a bottled water. It's not 6, I don't think, but I don't want to pay out the wazoo for it. So sometimes I'll do that, or I'll try and talk Jamie into putting more stuff into her bag.
Truth. Well, all these
hey,
things,
come here. Just and you're just like, okay, I'm just trying to just jam stuff into her backpack.
I was going to say, if you're curious about where we got some of these things that we use, a lot of them I just got off of Amazon. So like the stroller cover, Amazon. The umbrellas, they're the small ones that fold up, like they're really small, like they compact really small. I got those at Target. The kids' water bottles, like I said, Simple Modern. The cooling towels, Amazon. Magic Bands, Disney, obviously. The sunscreen stick is Neutrogena. It's a Neutrogena one. And then the backup charger is Amazon. Do you know what kind it was? Do you know what the... It's got a weird name. It's like a V or something.
No, I think it was an Anchor.
Anchor, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the K.
Which I would advise. Anchors are good. Like I've seen some people. I would not use the fuel rods in the parks.
Oh yeah.
Because they're fine. I mean, if they're in a pinch, they're fine. But they will literally give you maybe a quarter to a half of a charge on a phone. And this Anchor one we have, you charge it once,
It's got like 4 full charges.
Yeah, it'll do 4 or 5 pretty full charges. So you don't have to, like, if you didn't charge up the night before, you're not like panicked, like, oh no. Right. Whereas, you can be pretty good for a while.
It's got like 40,000. I don't know what the unit is, but it's got a lot of power.
At the time, it was the most. I'm sure now there's probably ones that are smaller that even have more.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But yeah, they've gotten pretty compact. They used to be kind of bulky, but they've gotten pretty compact now.
Yeah. What else? The grocery sack, so we keep all the snack bags and the extra stuff in. Amazon. The neck fan and the handheld fans, and Amazon. And we got one just recently that folds up. It like folds up into itself, and it's really small. So I recommend that one.
Well, and some of this stuff, if it's still in the on Amazon or whatever, I'll put in the show notes with links if you guys want to check it out. Because some of it is stuff that, I mean, you guys know how Amazon can go. Sometimes stuff is there and then it's not there anymore or whatever it is. But some of it's still there, I'm sure. But, other than that, I mean, not much else. I mean, the other thing I will mention, I talked about earlier, is I always say I don't like my socks getting wet, and the shoes I wear primarily in the parks all the time now, they're called cane footwear. Honestly, people they will see my shoes, and most people will start asking me questions about my shoes because they look like Crocs, but they look like tennis shoes. They look like a hybrid between the two. I love them. I think they're really comfortable. For Jamie, she has really flat feet.
I do.
So they don't work as well. Now, you do wear them. You just don't wear them in the parks.
Yeah, I can't wear them long term. It's just, like he said, there's not enough support in the arch.
Yeah.
So I need a little bit more than that.
For me, they're really comfortable because technically they're called recovery shoes, but they're real. For me, I like shoes that are comfortable and look good. I'm kind of really picky on shoes, and these I think look really good. So, they're called Cane Footwear. It's KANE footwear.com, and they have a bunch of different colors now and everything like that. But they're waterproof. If they get dirty, you can just wipe them off. And that's the other thing, too. I like white shoes. I like lighter colored shoes. And when you have kids, and just in general, it's impossible to keep shoes clean. So with these, if they get dirty, you just wipe them off and you go. And I don't have to worry about if it rains or if you get wet. Just, your shoes will squeak a little bit, but that's it.
Yeah.
So I really like them.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Good. Thank you. I don't want to say here, but anything else that you can think of?
I don't think so. We have a lot of stuff we have to bring because of the kids usually, but I feel like we've done this enough to know what we really need.
Well, it's funny listing all this out. I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot of stuff.
But to us, it's like, this is what we bring, so I don't really think about it much. So it seems like, at least to me, it seems like it's way more than it really is. It's a lot, but I mean, the bags are nice because you can just tie those onto the back of the stroller, and they don't get in the way.
And the reason I divided my bags like I did, where I have just a lounge fly and the extra bag, is that when we park the stroller, everything that is valuable that I don't want to get stolen or whatever is in my lounge fly. Everything else that we leave in the stroller, like if someone were to take it or we lose or whatever, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
kind of one of my functions.
Yeah, and that's something that I think maybe it's not talked about much, but it's like that's something to think about because you do take a risk every time you leave your stroller unattended that people could take stuff. I mean, technically they could take your stroller.
Sure.
And they could,
they're getting a real good, real brand new stroller.
Well, I don't think ours is not the Lamborghini of strollers.
It's not.
But
also a tip: don't bring a really nice stroller to Disney.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that.
Don't do it.
I mean, it doesn't happen much. I mean, but there are instances where you're here that people get things stolen. So when you do leave your stroller unattended, you might make it easy to just have stuff with you that you can put into a bag to take with you on something that, like you said, you don't want anything taken. But if some stuff were to get taken, it's not the end of the world. Versus there's one reason why we don't bring in iPads and things like that into the parks because those would be really easy to get taken and stuff like that.
Oh, I guess we don't bring any devices and stuff anymore for the kids. We did for a period of time with our daughter, but it got to the point where it was just we were doing so much and she didn't need it really. So we're just like,
it's when she was really little, and if she was up a little. Basically, if we were just doing stuff in the parks a little later, she would get very, she's a kid. Yeah. So sometimes we just let her watch, some sort of movie we put on there just for a little thing. But yeah, we don't mess with it anymore just because it's just. Your kid's already in the theme park. So.
Right. Baby Thor, he's just content looking around. It's like, what are we doing? This is great.
That is funny when it comes to different kids because our daughter has way more. She's used that stuff more than him. He really just he's way more like he's just a boy. He just if you give him a dinosaur in a car, that kid will play with it for an hour. But yeah, so that's all the stuff that I can think of that we kind of take with us. So, like I said, every once in a while we ask this question and we just sort of update it from time to time. And we hadn't done this for a little bit, so if you guys do have any questions about anything, that's what you can always email us, hello@ctm.show, or on the easiest one, it's Instagram @CapTheMagic. Messaging on there is a little bit easier. If you got any questions, always feel free to reach out and message us and all that stuff. So.